The following may contain disturbing images and stories that might not be appropriate for all viewers. I've tried to use as much of the original footage as possible and filled in some of the gaps with reenactments when I thought necessary. It goes by many names: The Crisis, The Dark Years, The Walking Plague, as well as newer and more hip titles such as World War Z or Z War 1. I personally dislike this last moniker as it implies an inevitable Z War 2. For me, it will always be the Zombie War. And while many may protest the scientific accuracy of the word zombie, they will be hard-pressed to discover a more globally accepted term for those that almost cause their extinction. Some critics will, no doubt, take issue with the idea of these stories coming out so soon after the worldwide outbreak and hostilities. It has been only 12 years since the Victory in America Day was declared in the continental United States, and 10 since the victory in China. I told my colleague about my work.
We'll be telling the stories of the survivors, so there'll be a record of everything that happened.
Given that most people consider the victory in China to be the official end, how can we have real perspective when we've been at peace just about as long as we've been at war?
This is a valid argument, and one that begs response. In the case of this generation, those who have fought and suffered for this decade of peace, time is as much an enemy as it is an ally. Yes, the coming years will provide hindsight, adding greater wisdom to memories seen through the light of a matured, post-war world. But many of those memories may no longer exist, either deceased or trapped in bodies and spirits, too damaged to see the fruits of their victory harvested. It is no great secret that the global life expectancy is a mere shadow of its former pre-pandemic figure. Malnutrition, pollution, the rise of previously eradicated ailments around the world. There's simply not enough resources to care for all the physical and psychological casualties. It is because of this enemy, the enemy of time, that I have forsaken the luxury of hindsight and published these survivors' accounts. Perhaps decades from now, someone will take up the task of recording the recollections of these survivors. I hope I might even be one of them. My initial work for the Commission could be described as nothing short of a labor of love. So it came as a shock when I found almost all of my work cut from the final edition. Instead of keeping an accurate record of these many stories, it became focused on the singular effort to find a cure. What happened to my report?
It was too personal. Too many stories, too many thoughts and opinions. What we needed were clear facts and figures. A single narrative unclouded by the human factor.
Of course, she was right. The official report turned out to be a collection of cold, hard data. An objective after-action report that would allow future generations to study the events of that apocalyptic decade without being influenced by the human factor. But isn't the human factor what connects us so deeply to our past? Will future generations care as much for chronologies and casualty statistics as they would for the personal accounts of the individuals not so different from themselves? It was supposed to be a survival guide, or an oral history. Something that could help prevent a worldwide outbreak. I presented my opinions to my boss. Perhaps less professionally than was appropriate. We can't let these stories die.
Then don't. Publish them online. You have the records. Everyone signed the releases. What's stopping you? Make your own fucking show.
Which brings me now. Although this is primarily a collection of personal accounts from survivors, it will include many of the technical details found in the original Commission report. These are their stories, not mine, and I intend to maintain as invisible presence as possible. I'm only asking the questions that I thought you might also want answered. And if there is a human element that should be removed, let it be my own.